So, welcome to my podcast, and we are here together. Oops, is there something? So, welcome to my podcast. I'm sitting here with a really old friend, and I'm so happy to have this old friend in my podcast. And I thank you for your time. We are here in Hamburg, and for the first time since COVID, you are traveling to Germany. You have had a wonderful workshop. We have to talk about it. And so, Chuck, welcome to my podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, it's great to be here again. We planned this get together for a number of years now.
A number of years now. Yes. That's right. So you've had your first, I think it was your first workshop after COVID in Germany, right?
Right. It's the first travel.
Oh, it's the first travel.
Yes.
How was it?
Well, it was a great workshop. It was 8 days.
Yeah.
And we went really deep, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, if you're going to go really deep, you have to have fun.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
And then it gets really high, and people get really bonded.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
Oh, wonderful! It's good to hear. So overall, when I listen to a lot of people who ask me questions, especially from the business world, they are a little bit nervous at the moment because of the state of the world around, what's going on in the world, the crisis, everything is changing very quick, it's unstable, and people feel very insecure. So let me know, Chuck, what is your viewpoint when you look at the world at the moment? What's going on in the world? What's the process at the moment? I know you are someone who are looking deeper than only looking at the surface. So what is your viewpoint? What's going on in the world?
Well, basically, it seems as if we're in a state of transition.
Okay.
And we haven't come to the next solid place yet. And in a state of transition, people can be most anxious, most frightened. Mm-hmm. But that actually adds to the problem. Mm-hmm. Because at the level of the mind I work with, the mind, what's in our mind is reflected in the world. So there's a lot of upheaval. I was predicting this years ago, that we were going to be facing unconscious upheavals. And not only issues that we're working with in our daily life and from our families and relationships, but we were going to be working at much deeper levels. Mm-hmm. So, and it's really important to have people who are visionaries, people who can see a positive future at a time like this.
Will there a positive future? Because at the moment, people, by my feeling, a lot of people are so frightened that they only see the darkness and say, okay, that's years of darkness coming in the future. So will there be a positive outcome of everything?
Well, I believe there will. It's also a time of great opportunity.
Yeah.
It's like, if you realize, that the world is your mirror, and what you're seeing is what you think, mm-hmm. and what you think about yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you can change your mind about yourself, then you can change your mind about the world. You have this power then to, be this lighthouse when everybody else thinks their ship is sinking.
That's very important, I think. Yeah, that's a very important, good thing. Have you any idea how long it will take for all of us to go through? Is it years or tens of years, or I don't know?
No, I don't think it'll be tens of years.
Yeah.
I feel like the feel of it, you surprised me with the question,
mm-hmm.
but then my intuition kicks in. It's 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And one of the things that I just shared in another interview was how in Vancouver years ago, there was a big kind of recession going on mm-hmm. in North America and in Europe, but not in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Everybody was business as usual. Yeah. Everybody was happy and things like this. And it took a year for that fear to hit Vancouver.
Ah, okay.
And then the recession hit Vancouver,
mm-hmm.
but it went on 2 years
mm-hmm.
in Vancouver, where it went on 1 year in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So your confidence is everything. When you have confidence, you think, there's no problem, there's something
mm-hmm.
to handle, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you be one of the ones who has that sense of confidence, which is peace?
Yeah.
And it's like our minds are connected.
Yeah.
So it's like when you have peace, when you're confident, just something to handle. And it's also a time of great opportunity mm-hmm. to change what's negative inside myself. So I mean, most business people are positive people. And
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, or they wouldn't be doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
It's like they have confidence. This is going to work. This is going to win. But when you lose that confidence, things go downhill. So what could you do to regain your confidence?
That's a good question at all. So I think also because for my listeners, it's always interesting to see what can I do practically today, tomorrow. What can I do when I know a lot of business people who are very, very frightened at the moment, especially in Germany because of the war in the East and everything, and the problems with energy and energy prices going up and everything. So do you have any practical idea or a practical tip for the people where you can say, okay, let's do this one, or let's look in this direction, or whatever? What can people do when they feel frightened coming up and everything is dark around the world?
Okay, so here's something. This is from NLP. I've studied lots of different methods and things like this, but let's do it together. Okay. So when was the time you were most confident in your whole life? How old were you, if you were to know?
The first time?
Yeah.
I think 3 years.
Okay. You were 3 years old?
Yeah.
Okay. And you knew you're 3 years old, you're going to take the world by storm.
Yeah, absolutely. Chicken skin.
Bring that boy back into you now. Let him melt into you.
Oh, it feels great. Yeah.
And now, when was the next time in business that you felt the most confident?
Oh, it was around 9 years ago.
Okay. So bring him back. Bring that Boris back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very strong, very, very powerful. Yeah.
Right.
Great.
Bring in that time when you felt you were most in the flow, that you were most lucky. You know, you play basketball and the hoop loved you. And it's like everything just is coming your way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's 5 years ago. Yeah, there was a point. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so welcome him back to you.
Feels great.
Okay. Think of a time when you were really loving, when you were extending yourself, you're reaching out, you're sharing, you knew you could help people. You know, and so
it was on the trip right in my holidays 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Sweet. So welcome him back.
Yeah, great.
Another time.
Okay.
When was the time you felt really on top of the world? You felt really loved and loving in relationships.
I think it's 15 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, bring him back now. He knows you can have it all. You know, you can have love and success.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's very deep. It's very, very, very strong. A strong feeling inside of me. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. So that's a little thing you can do. There's so many of these things that you can do. Here's another one.
Okay.
Let's say, on the scale of 100%, all by itself, how strong is your masculine side?
At the moment?
Yes.
At the moment, 80.
And how about your feminine side? This is the part that receives, that's lovable, that knows you deserve everything.
It's maximum 10 to 15%. Yeah.
Okay, so now commit to equality on both sides.
It's difficult.
Well, just commit to it. It's the choice to give yourself fully to it. Okay? You don't do anything beside that. You just want it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what's the balance now? It was 80...
No, it's 60-40.
60-40, great. Yeah. See, as soon as you get to balance, you have flow. And that's the first step, is to get to the balance of your mass. You give, you receive. If you're just giving, you're using up your fuel. You're using up your youth. You're using up your bodily energy, and you're in sacrifice because you're not receiving.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
It's a simple exercise. You commit once again to balance.
Yeah, now it's coming. I feel the chicken skin and everything. Yeah, that's great. Wonderful.
What's the number?
Oh, it's a little bit 51 to 49, so there's a little...
Okay, there's a little bit there. But see, it's like I can see there's a limit in your mind. And a person of vision is not going to be stopped by their belief system. And basically the only thing that stops us is our beliefs about ourselves.
Okay.
Okay, so you're thinking that you can only go up to 100.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And that's a limit. And that comes from old self-concepts. But what if you could go to 100, 100? Could you commit to that?
Oh yeah, that feels much more stronger and greater. Yeah, it's wonderful.
What's the number?
Now it feels like 100, 100, like a perfect flow. It's great.
What's the problem?
There's no one.
Okay. Are you going to stop at 100?
No. It feels like unlimited. So if the flow is great. So the flow is greater than 100 or 200 or whatever.
But you want to commit to it again to reach a higher number of this flow?
Yeah, it feels like eternity. It's like it's going out in the world. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
And it's knowing that you can go beyond the limits that we've set for ourselves.
Wow.
So
that's very...
And when you have 100, 100, basically your work and your relationships, your work and your family come into balance. And very few people have that balance. You know, it's like they're using up their health to get success.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you have this balance...
Oh, I know this point, yeah.
Yeah. It's
when you work and don't get it.
Yeah. Right. That's because you're in balance. And it's easy to balance yourself. I mean, basically, that's what heaven wants for you.
Wow. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I hope everyone has listened to this. It was so good. It is so good advice for this crazy times. And
here's a simple one. Here's a very simple one, but it's the heart of everything. It's the heart of happy relationships. It's the heart of success. It's the heart of abundance. What do you want? Do you want this success?
Yeah.
Do you want to be this visionary business leader?
Sure.
Because it's this century that business will save the world. It's not government. You know, we've kind of gone beyond that, but we need visionary business leaders, you know, not just to accumulate bottom line, but to, you know, inspire the world.
Wow.
You know, with integrity, you know, because if you're out of integrity and you're just trying to get from yourself, what'll happen is at a subconscious level, you'll feel guilty. You won't believe in yourself. Even if you get lots of money, you won't be happy.
For sure, yeah. That's right.
So if business has that level of integrity, let's all win. Let's have the community win. Let's have the world win. Let's make partnerships around the world that change everything. And the key is, how much do you want it?
At the moment, I have to say 70% or so. There's a gap. There's something. Yeah.
So if you were to know, what scares you?
It's too big. I'm too small for it. So I'm not able to handle it.
So this is one of the key aspects that keep people small. It's one of the biggest problems in the world. I mean, there's a few people that exaggerate themselves, but that's to make up for their sense of smallness. So how many beliefs in smallness do you have?
23.
And what are you using them for?
To keep me small and protect myself. Don't show up and show myself.
So notice that it's a vicious circle. You know, you believe it happens, you need it to protect yourself, but so you think. But do you think that's coming from your ego or your higher mind?
More from my ego, I think. 100% from my ego, yeah.
Yeah, because your ego is this sense of identity that we built up through pain, through separation, which says, okay, I'm going to do it myself now. But the problem with that is it's like you build up this identity, but you can't receive because it's gone out of balance.
Because it's blocked also everything, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and then our feminine side gets wounded, and we get afraid to deal with our feelings, our heart, and it's like how to get that heart back, how to bring that balance in business. You know, how can business have this strength, you know, of giving, but also receiving, to be lovable, to know that you're valuable. And when you're small, you think, oh, I can allow myself to have what I work my ass off for.
Yeah, I get it. I know it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a really interesting, deep one. Okay, how many scarcity stories do you have?
Oh, 6.
And how hard do you have to work to keep them at bay?
A lot of work every day. Yeah.
How old is the self writing those scarcity stories?
Oh, I think 4 years.
4 years old. So your 4-year-old is writing checks that your ass has to cash. You know?
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Yeah. Take his crayons away from him. You know, love that 4-year-old. He will start to grow up. And as he grows up, and it's an easy thing, you love him till he gets to your age. And when he gets to your age, he'll melt into you and reconnect the wires that were cut in your heart, your mind, and your body. When I work with people with catastrophic illness, they have all these wires cut inside, and it was below the level of their consciousness. And so it's just getting it all back.
It's easy. Yeah, it's great. So it's I feel the second skin. It's great. Yeah.
That's Hawaii for bullseye. We have a lot of that in the training. So here's something else that's just coming into show.
Yeah.
Okay. So this sense of fear, you know, which leads to scarcity, it leads to competition. And most people don't realize that competition is based on fear. Because if you're competing at work, you'll bring it home. And competing leads to fights. You've probably read about fights. And it leads to deadness because you withdraw because you don't want to lose.
I've heard about it, yeah.
Yeah. But your cooperation, your commitment to intimacy, which is your feminine side, gives you both intimacy and success. So the intuition I'm having is this fear, what percentage is being passed down ancestrally? What pops in? Just
80%. I don't know. It's a lot. Most of it.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And is it mostly coming from your father or mother's side?
Father's side.
I already knew that 5 minutes ago because my intuition was picking up on this and the call to do this. If you were to know where the root of this fear began in your ancestors, how many generations ago was it?
5 generations.
Did it begin with a man, a woman, or both?
A man.
And somehow if you were to know, and stories will pop in, the images will pop in. If you see, I learned this using the intuition as an alternative to hypnosis back in the 70s. Because the caseload was so big, we had to get to the heart of things and get people through. And I was doing this kind of work in 1974. You know, obviously, obviously I was only 3 years old.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know,
Me too.
One of the things I learned as doing healing was that all emotions, fear, guilt, heartbreak, it's all a mistake. And there's no emotion or problem you have that isn't coming from the past. Now, the past doesn't exist except as we keep it alive. So even 5 generations ago, it's like you have so many inherited gifts from your ancestors, but you also have the karma.
Yeah.
And what I found over 30 years ago was that we all made this soul level promise that we would free our ancestors.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think everyone is go for it. Yeah, yeah.
So, first of all, do you think that's heaven's will that the children die?
No, absolutely no.
Right.
No.
It's like that can't be God's will, or he'd lose his God license. So it's like somehow it's our collective, and that's what's going on in the world today. So many collective issues are hitting at once.
Yeah.
The war, the pandemic, and now scarcity. Okay, so everything we do helps everybody. So there's many ways to do this, that I learned since 1974. But here's one. Here's a juicy one.
Okay.
Let's imagine that you and I were back there. Okay. What's the soul gift that you could give to your ancestor to free him from this terrible situation he's in?
Trust in heaven, trust in God.
Right.
Yeah.
And so imagine you giving him that.
He's smiling.
And I'm back there with you. So I'm going to give this sense of vision. Not only vision to know, like, this is just something to handle, but also spiritual vision. To realize we're living in a dream world. And we don't have to be caught in this dream, because our dreams, this is something I became an expert at in the 70s, working with dreams. Our dreams are our wishes. And we have some crazy dreams.
Yes, sure.
And what I learned back there was this is a waking dream. So if we change our mind, we can change the world. I mean, there's a line in A Course in Miracles that says, it's one of my favorite lines. It says, if you but change your mind about yourself, you could save the whole world.
That's a good sentence. Yeah. Wonderful.
And so we're looking at our mind, and there's so much to change. There's so much to heal. Our beliefs in illness and suffering, in war. And we could change that. There's ways to change it if you want to be who you are. Because did God create you as this small little, just this little bitty baby? I don't think so.
No, not at all.
Like comes from like. He created you like himself. And so that's a really deep part of the mind. But it's your wholeness. It's your unlimitedness. It's your love. It's the light inside you. And if you get down to that, everything else dissolves. Because, it's a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the Buddha said when he awakened. He goes, it's all a dream. And I'm the dreamer.
Yeah.
And he said, it's my mind that makes the dream.
Wonderful.
So that was 2,500 years ago. And now, it's like things get moved on. Christ moved on that awareness.
Wonderful.
And to prove, like, death isn't real. Oh my God. Imagine the level of your creativity if you had no fear of death. Most every fear comes back to that. But it's like the ego's always trying to make you be afraid, because if you're afraid, then you depend on your ego.
Yeah.
But
then you're in a trap, right? It's
exactly.
Like,
Your ego says you're going to die. And get a second opinion. Ask your higher mind.
I think that's a perfect advice for all the listeners. Ask for a second opinion. I think
Exactly.
That's a good point.
If you want to learn about happiness, go for someone who's happy. If you want to learn about success, get someone who has a balanced, happy success, and learn from them.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's like follow those visionaries.
You answer all my questions in once. Thanks a lot, Chuck. It was unbelievable. I hope everyone who listened to it learn a lot and get a lot of new ideas, because I think it's really frightened times. It's wild times, and people are so nervous, and it's so helpful to have you here.
If you allow me.
Yeah, sure. Sure, go for it.
One of the things, the core thing that creates fear is it's not coming from the war. It's not coming from the pandemic. It's not coming from outside us. All of our emotions come from us. So fear didn't begin out there. Sure, all our minds are connected, and it's an infection around the world. But it's like, if you forgive, fear is healed. If you love, fear is healed.
Wow.
I
think that's the most important part. This is the core. That's what's going on at the moment.
It's like our judgments create suffering. For us, the world stops, it gets locked in, and we want that flow, that creative flow. Because you're business leaders, you're the leaders. Like, have that sense of confidence. If you don't have an answer, if you want it with all your heart, it will come to you. I did a business seminar in Hawaii 20 years ago, and there was a fellow from Taiwan, and there was that great flood in Taiwan.
Right, I remember.
Right through the center of
the earthquake and everything. I've been in Taiwan at this time, so it was horrible.
Huge flood. His whole company flooded, including his aluminum furnaces. And so he was, he had 200 families working for him.
Ooh.
He called all around the world, and nobody said, it's kaput. It's like you can't restart an aluminum furnace like this. And he goes, these are my people. I'm not going to give up. So he didn't go home. He just stayed at the office, and he just wanted it with all his heart. And in a month, he had the answer about how to relight these furnaces.
Wonderful.
And it's like they got started, and they got the company going, and he saved his company, he saved his people.
Wow. That's an incredible story, and I think it's helpful for all people outside at the moment who are running and say, okay, it's crazy, what's going on, how can I handle it, and everything.
Give up your attack thoughts. Send out love, send out, friendship. Help somebody. Here's a really juicy one. Okay. So let's imagine you could add up all the fear of yourself, your family, and everybody in your company. How many kilos does it come out to?
900 kilos.
900 kilos. Imagine that it's an emotional fire around you. Who's on the other side that needs your help?
My family.
Would you let that emotional fire stop you from going through it to help your family?
No, not at all.
So when you go through it and embrace them, what happens to that fire?
It's not there.
It's not there. It's gone. It's like your love, created the way to melt that.
Wonderful.
And you have that inside, and all of you are leaders. You're leaders because you wanted to help, you wanted to succeed. Get that balance in your life of happy relationships, successful companies, and just bring the love, bring the friendship, to be a friend to everyone in your company. My father-in-law was a very successful man. He ran the energy companies in Phoenix, which brought electricity to the whole valley. But it also, it's like he was the kind of guy that when somebody in his church was going to die, they would ask that he be present. He was a shining example of that.
Wow.
And he knew the name of everybody in his company.
Wow.
And he was interested. And there wasn't one person in his company that wouldn't take a bullet for him.
Wow.
He was, but when he was in his 70s, he cried in my arms because he said, I just wish I could have spent more time with my children. And you couldn't have it all. It's only your belief systems that says you can have this or you can have that. That's just a dilemma that starts with us as kids, which says we could have mother's love or father's love, but we can't have both. And that sets up dilemma patterns. But that's not true. The thing is, what you want, which is your thoughts, your beliefs, it's like heaven backs you up. So if your thinking is a mess, well, heaven trusts you. Heaven knows you're going to come out of it in some lifetime or other. And it'll back you up. But it's getting yourself moving in this true direction. One of the things that can help is if you have a problem, invite truth into it. Because truth will create flow and freedom. If you see, I work with so many people with all kinds of problems, catastrophic illness, bankruptcy, things like this, and there's a split mind. And we hide the mind that is opposing us, that's creating the problem. But that mind wants to be heard. It wants, it's wanting to tell you something. But so let's say guilt from your whole life. If you added it up,
Okay.
how many kilos would that be?
Oh, guilt? Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's everybody's favorite, but it's not the truth.
1,900 kilograms.
What would your life be like if you had no guilt?
Oh, it was a really happy, successful, easy life. It's easy, you know.
How rich would you be?
Oh, millions of euros.
And how would your true love be?
Oh, it was juiceful. Juiceful, yeah.
Saftig? Juicy?
Yeah, saftig, yeah.
Right.
You know the German word.
I know the interest.
Yeah. You know what it means.
So, to want it with all your heart, because every time you commit to it or want it, what happens is there's an integration occurred. And we have so many split minds, and there's all kinds of easy ways to heal that. But there's this part that doesn't want success, that wants you to be small. So let's take all your guilt. How do you punish yourself for that?
Oh, I have to work very hard, very long hours, doing more than everyone, so doing a little bit more than everyone. Yeah.
But see, it's like your guilt, you're working hard as a defense. So it's just a role. So any abundance that comes in goes right out to pay off the stress.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but if you're innocent, how much do you deserve?
Everything.
Let's go to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Okay, the Supreme Court is run by the Tao, the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
Okay, so your ego is presenting all your guilt and prosecuting you.
Okay.
Right? But let's say Christ is there to say you're innocent. What does the Holy Spirit say about this guilt, about this case where
There's no guilt. There's nothing at all. There's no case.
So can you let all that go?
I feel the freedom. It's like, it's like on my shoulders. It's like freeing up. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Wonderful.
So with guilt comes sense of failure. And with failure comes sense of guilt and valuelessness. Okay, so here's a real easy one, because we're doing easy ones.
Okay, for sure.
Okay, so what percentage would you say your value is?
60%.
60%.
Yeah.
Now, just see what pops into your mind. Ask heaven, what's my value?
It's, I don't know, it's not 100, it's everything. So, it's
inestimable.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So
no limits.
Yeah, and notice that when the words come in, the grace comes in.
I can feel it.
Can you feel your value?
Yeah. Feels limitless, it's like going out in the world. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So many people, and so many people who get really successful, but then go, is that all there is?
Yeah, I know this question.
Yeah. The thing is, heaven didn't make a meaningless world. That's what the ego wants. It wants to set up this battleground between, let me show you my meaning. Go out and get something else in the world that will make you happy. Get another mistress.
Yeah.
Get more money.
A new car or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like, heaven doesn't fight back because heaven is meaning. And how you were created is totally with meaning. So you could ask heaven, what's my meaning?
Yeah. Being the light.
Being the light.
Yeah.
Just shining on people,
Yeah.
Let's get this darkness out of here.
Yeah, it feels great. Yeah. Chicken skin all over. It's like, woo, it's a good flow, yeah.
And that's part of your purpose, is to bring meaning. And when your business coincides with your purpose, and your purpose may be to serve, to help, to lead, to inspire, to be a change agent.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's like over 30 years ago, the research said that business and the model for business was changing every 6 months. So business leaders had to be visionaries, but now it's happening much sooner.
Yeah.
And to stay on top of things and to know that you could surf the big waves, the 100-foot waves. A visionary surfs the 100-foot waves.
Wow.
You know, and you know that's a saying in Hawaii. The waves never stop, so you might as well learn to surf.
Yeah, that's a good one.
They also say if it swells, ride it.
Yeah.
So, you know,
That's also a good one.
that's also a good one, right?
Chuck, thanks a lot. It was so deep. It was a pleasure. I have so many questions here on my. Forget it. You answer everything. So thanks a lot, my friend. It was really nice. It was a really pleasure to talk to you in this podcast, and I hope that everyone who listened to it in the future will get a lot of information about it, which helps a lot to destroy the darkness outside and bring the light to the world. I think this is the job we have to do at the moment, especially in the business world.
Yeah,
I think
in the business world, all the beliefs about ourselves are just hiding this kind of crucial, primordial identity of you were created, love created you as love, light created you as light.
Perfect end words, I would say. Oh my God. Thanks a lot, Chad. It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot. And hopefully we could help a lot of the world with this talk. Thanks a lot.